Hello, everyone. This is Charles Nolen. I am your host of the Rollin with Nolen show, and I am here to bring you some news. And as many of you probably already know, Donald Trump was convicted of all 34 counts. And it is the most unfair Joe Biden, Department of Justice, Alvin Bragg, the judge, Juan Merchan, uh, they're all out of their cotton picking minds and they don't know what they're doing. And I just can't believe it. And I watch Fox News Network and I want you to watch them because they have the closest thing to the truth and they get fed from the AP wire and everything else. And this is complete garbage what we're watching today, folks. Garbage, I tell you. That Trump shouldn't be at all charged for this. It's ludicrous. It's crazy. It doesn't even make any sense to anyone. And the judge pretty much just put his foot on the scale of injustice to make sure the jury would convict him of a guilty charge. It's just absolutely insane. So I want to just turn you over to Fox News right now, and you can see it for yourself.
That there's a possibility. It takes a number of votes. It would be four. Generally to take up a case, five for something that's considered an emergency petition. But for something to jump from a state court, something that starts out as solely a state court case, over to the Supreme Court doesn't happen a lot. But if you can show an issue, a federal constitutional issue with the justices, I think that Mark is the one who referred to Bush v. Gore and some of the litigation that was happening down in Florida during 2000 that got to the Supreme Court. There can be times you push into that question. Now, as we know, there are two other cases the Supreme Court is already considering. Right now, we're waiting on those from them that could impact President Trump in a big way legally. And remember, they had a unanimous decision earlier this year to keep him on the ballot when there were a number of states that tried to kick him out under the 14th Amendment. They are loath to get involved in political issues unless absolutely drawn into them as a general rule. So I think that that appeal, if it came directly from the Trump legal team, is worth a try. I would not put the probability that the justices would take it very high.
Yeah. Trey, last thing, we are waiting again at the bottom of the hour. We expect the district attorney, Alvin Bragg, to come out and present in front of the reporters, and it's said that it's a news conference. We'll see what that develops into. What do you expect him to say? Having been a prosecutor on the winning side of 34 counts, finding the former president of the United States guilty?
I think he will feign humility. He will talk about the rule of law. I'll be curious, Brett. It's hard for those of us not from New York to find a crime for which you actually can be in prison in New York. I mean, they're not known for being really tough on felons, so, and especially not Alvin Bragg. Remember, he came into office with a very long list of things that he would not bother to prosecute. So he'll gloat a little bit, but he may have won the battle and lost the war. I will be surprised. I'll be surprised if the rest of America reacts the way that Manhattan and the press corps reacted to this verdict. I think it's a sad day for people who like a justice system that actually is blind.
Okay, Legal Eagles, if you'll stand by, please. Let's bring in our panel, Political More, syndicated radio host Hugh Hewitt, Leslie Marshall, Democratic strategist, and Byron York, chief political correspondent of the Washington Examiner. Hugh, your reaction today?
It's not surprising, but I'm very disappointed. It's actually a travesty in the justice system, Brett. There are so many grounds on which to appeal, beginning with the conflicts that the judge has that are obvious, the sort of conflicts that Dick Durbin and Sheldon Whitehouse are arguing should get Alito off of the case having to do with the J6 defendants. The conflicts this judge had are many, and we could go through them, but I won't waste time. I'll simply say, in addition to that, we had a charging document that didn't specify the crime. We had Brad Smith not allowed to testify to the full extent of his knowledge. We had very confusing jury instructions, and we had the admission of guilty pleas by Cohen and Pecker that ought not to have been admitted. So it's a travesty, and politically, I think that's going to help President Trump. You sow the wind, you reap the whirlwind. I've already seen the donation notices coming out, and it's an avalanche of donations to Donald Trump. And I expect the whirlwind will be a huge uptick in turnout and contribution.
Yeah, as I mentioned, the donation site was down. We're going to see if it's back up, but whether that is from traffic or something else, we'll see. Leslie, your thoughts, how this affects the election? How did Democrats take this? Are they going to jump on that term, convicted felon? And is this going to be all part of this plan ahead of the election as far as threat to democracy and convicted felon all the way to November?
Well, let's be clear that the DOJ, the feds had passed on this. Our own Shannon Bream had said, in an earlier interview that it is not President Biden that brought this, nor is it the Democratic Party. I mean, this was brought by the state. One, I'm kind of surprised at the verdict. I didn't think it was going to be guilty on all 34 counts. Two, the reason I don't think this is politically motivated, Brett, and I said it before and I'll say it again, is because I would agree with you that this helps Donald Trump. It helps check writing and money coming into his campaign. It helps with people who weren't going to support him to say, I'm 100% all in now. The latest poll on those numbers is NPR PBS, and it really finds, though, guilty or not, it doesn't really make a huge difference. I think, if anything, it could hurt the former president just a little bit, because he's going to be campaigning on the woe is me platform, and I'm just not sure how much steam that has if Joe Biden is talking about this is what I've done and what I'm going to do for voters and for America.
Website is back up, we're being told by campaign folks. Byron,
I said check writing.
Statement, the statement that came out right after he left the courtroom was pretty brief. We played a little bit of it. Here's another piece.
Nothing wrong. I'm a very innocent man, and it's okay. I'm fighting for our country. I'm fighting for our Constitution. Our whole country is being rigged right now. This was done by the Biden administration in order to wound or hurt an opponent, a political opponent. And I think it's just a disgrace. And we'll keep fighting. We'll fight till the end, and we'll win.
So he's clearly going to use this to his advantage rhetorically on the campaign trail. He thinks it helps. How do you see it?
It does. He's talking to his supporters right there, and his rallies he'll sometimes say, they're not coming after me, they're coming after you. I'm just in the way. Covering the primaries and the caucuses this year, Republicans are pretty much unanimous in the belief that Trump has been unfairly pursued here, that he was a victim of politicized prosecution. And obviously they have a case. The district attorney who brought this case is an elected Democrat in Manhattan. He was actually elected on a platform of pursuing Trump. And he did bring in a former number 3 at the Biden Justice Department to help pursue or prosecute this case. The judge is a Biden donor. And the jury, of course, came from a district in which President Biden won by about 85% in 2020. So the Trump supporters have a point when they talk about the political aspects of this case. Now, I do think among Trump supporters there's going to be kind of a shock effect. I mean, even if you're expecting something, when it actually happens, it can kind of take your breath away. And I think that may be happening right now among those supporters, but they've really already processed, and they have placed this episode in what they think is a long line of unfair pursuit of Trump, going back to the Trump-Russia investigation. So I don't think it's going to change any of their support, maybe make it more intense.
Well, there we are, folks. You have it, just the way it really is. Donald Trump found guilty of 34 counts, and they're felony counts, folks, and he needs our help in any way we can get it to him, to get him out of the court system and in front of the campaign audiences and rallies that he does, so we can get him and all the Republicans into the Senate, into the House of Representatives, and do it the way it needs to be done, my friends. You are rolling with Nolen, and we are on a road to recovery. We have to recover, folks. We have to help Donald Trump. Remember, please subscribe and enjoy my channel as much as you possibly can. I love you, my brothers and sisters, and I hope that I'll see you on the air real soon.